Welcome, rebellious generals. It's time for the Battle of Bull Run and the Confederate campaign on Major General difficulty in the JMP Rebalance mod. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to check out any of my materials related to the game. I hope you find something helpful to succeed in your own campaigns. Do not hesitate to ask questions in the comments. Please be aware that Colonel, Brigadier General, and Major General difficulties all share an AI profile. Legendary has its own profile. Therefore, things that you see me do should easily translate to lower difficulties but may not work in Legendary or be suboptimal. My career point from Newport News went into training. I also took Archer with reputation points. Albion White remains the 1st Division Commander. In the current mod, the only effects a Division Commander has are on unit command and efficiency. However, I do know that in the next iteration, they'll also give a small boost to unit experience. Siegfried and Kemper remain unchanged and will continue to bleed down to their 2nd star. What do I mean by bleed down? Well, you see the stats for Siegfried here, starting with efficiency at 26 and going down to melee at 37. Now take a look at the stats of the recruits and the veterans in their respective pools. The veteran stats are obviously higher than the recruit stats, but even those are less than the stats of Siegfried's unit. Therefore, adding recruits or vets to Siegfried will make him lose experience. The same goes for Kemper. I am not the least bit interested in lowering their unit experience, so I will not add troops to either of them until they reach their 2nd star. Then I'll add just enough troops to avoid losing that 2nd star. Cross was the 3rd unit that I made just before Newport News. Once Siegfried and Kemper are at their 2nd star, Cross will be my main bleed down unit until he gets his 2nd star. But until then, I'll selectively add troops to his numbers. Since I had about 95 MJNGs in the armory, I added that many recruits to Cross. I had to buy some Colts for Preston. I'd prefer he was closer to 500 men, but my resources are stretched thin as it is. Lewis is still the 2nd Division Commander. Marshall is a recruit unit with 42 Springfields. McGilvery is also a recruit unit with 55 Springfields. Assuming that Marshall and McGilvery do not get killed or wounded, the combination of their first battles led bonus and unit experience gained in battle should be enough to get them their 1st star. With no battles led, unit commanders have a 15% penalty to their experience and the units. 1 battle led drops the penalty to 7.5%. 2 battles led gets them out of the penalty. You have a 6% bonus at 3 battles led, a 10% bonus at 4, 13 at 5, and 16 at 6. The maximum bonus at 23% is 10 battles led for both the officer and the unit. The battles led bonuses do have a decreasing return, so the first 2 points provide the most benefit. Going from negative 15 up to a positive 23% is a 38-point swing, and 25 of those points come in the first 4 points. It's important to understand that getting a rookie unit their 1st star is one of the most significant boosts in the game. The 1st unit perk is more important than preserving battles led bonuses, and higher level officers with no battles led can give more unit experience than low level officers with 4 battles led. Since high level officers can bootstrap units up to their 1st star easier, you'll sometimes see me replace low level officers with higher level ones to get that 1st perk. Archer is a new cavalry unit. I give him and Cabell most of the vets to get both of them up to a star. Archer carries Cook and Brothers. I hate the infantry type reload time on the cavalry unit, but it's a very accurate weapon at close range. If you can get close enough to an enemy flank, it can do severe damage to their morale. I've give Cabell 8 ordnance rifles with the horse perk for speed. Many players insist that rifled guns are only effective with the shell shot perk, but I find that they level just fine with the horse perk, and I don't want them to take a week to change firing positions. The Union received a full corps reinforcement after the last battle. The Union will bring 33,077 men and 58 guns, and our allies have 15,875 men and 29 guns before unit splits. Adding my 8 units brings the total to 25,329 and 37 guns. I will send a strike force across the ford to assault the Union from the north. That will include both cavalry units, Kemper and Siegfried. I'll also take Kemper and Cross's detached skirmishers. Cross's skirmishers would tank a few shots while I'm getting some of the units routing. Cross is a melee unit, so he's going to guard the bridge. Marshall will guard the rear from harassing Union cavalry and skirmishers. McGilvery will start in the woods and try to draw some Union fire. The way calculations work, a unit's cover percentage ends up being direct reduction in damage. Of course, there's a cap on how much cover you can have, so it will not make you immune to damage. Once my flanking force is in place, I'll position McGilvery to tank shots while firing from the west side of the river. That way, Kemper and Siegfried will take less damage while they do their job. First, I need to discourage the Union scouts from coming all the way south. It's rare that the scouts will attack you right away, but it can happen. If you move them around, Marshall can get some pretty decent cover here in the buildings. His skirmishers will get cover in the field. Siegfried's skirmishers are helping Cross defend the bridge. The Union artillery will sometimes target him, so you need to pull him back a bit if they start doing that. The Union brought their artillery up closer to the bridge than normal. Usually they're farther away, allowing my detached skirmishers and cavalry to attack them without drawing the attention of the infantry. Therefore, it looks like I'll have to rout the 1st Ohio before I can get to the guns. McGilvery has the attention of the 1st Ohio, so Kemper and Siegfried can flank. My skirmishers can get shots on the 2nd U.S. Artillery Battery. First Ohio is taking all that fire and still somehow managed to detach its skirmishers. Okay, they're routing. Now I just need to keep rolling down and having McGilvery and Cross push closer to keep firing from the other side. Cross is going to need to deal with those Union scouts. My cavalry can take out the 1st Ohio and the 2nd U.S. Artillery. The 2nd Ohio is now routing. He can come right down here to my cavalry too. 1st U.S. Artillery is shattered. The Union scouts have ghosted briefly, so I'm going to charge them to keep them from getting to Cabell. The 2nd Ohio surrendered. Now for the 2nd New York. Scouts are stuck, so Cross can come down and keep working on them. The 2nd New York is now surrendered. Now I just need to finish off the detached skirmishers. Since Cross is a melee unit, I'm going to charge the scouts and see if I can force them to surrender. Okay, we captured all 3 infantry brigades plus the scouts. Preston can finish off the detached skirmishers, and everyone else can get back across the bridge to set up for the phase change. My biggest worry here is dealing with the Union dedicated skirmishers. They're likely carrying the 59 Sharps rifle, which is my favorite weapon in the entire game. It has a base range of 475 and a fire rate of 140. You see how that group of 313 skirmishers is outranging my detached skirmishers, even though I have 400 range weapons? I will start pulling my guys back and see if the skirmishers will get close enough that I can send my cavalry after them. Typically, the Union has several units here that you can't see, so just running out there and attacking will result in casualties, and it's not really worth it. If I can get them to come down closer, they might separate from their buddies. When the Henry Hill phase starts, my core units will set up to the right of the VP and my allies to the left. So by backing my troops up to the edge, all I have is a short walk to get into cover at Henry Hill. If the Union skirmishers come up to the VP, I might be able to send Preston and Archer in from the left to take them out. I'm going to push some skirmishers forward to try to spot them. Okay, I'm sending my cav after these guys. Oh, there's two of them together. Maybe I can get both. This is risky for my cav, though. I need to break off before Wilcox gets here. Nice, I took out one dedicated, almost destroyed the second, and I picked off a detached on the way back. In Phase 2, I'll put one of Hampton's brigades into the fortification and the other as a backup for countercharging. Bartol will go next to the fortification, backed up by artillery units. B will be on the far left until other reinforcements arrive. McGilvery will go into the woods next to the fortification with Cross next to him. Kemper and Siegfried get the cover in the other woods, and Marshall will hang out here on the far right until I know whether we're being flanked. I'll put detached skirmishers on both the far left and far right flanks. Cabell will be positioned to the right of the VP to keep him out of the most danger, but with rifled guns he can fire in the distance. We rolled a decent amount of splits on the Allied infantry. I'll send 3 of them to check for a Union flanking force. If they don't see anything, they'll just continue up to the bridge and the ford that we just defended to start flanking from the right. Burnside is coming with his 3,200 troops. He is big enough that he'll likely not surrender this early, but I'll see if I can rout him back and do some damage. On the initial charge, big units like this tend to keep their condition even after you rout them, which helps prevent them from surrendering early. Once their condition is dropped, so by the second or third charge, they surrender more easily when you break the morale. with one of Hampton's brigades here, and he'll take over the fortification while the other pulls back to recover. There's no Union flanking force to intercept, so these guys are going to go off and cause trouble. I have enough extra Allied units to flank from the left side. Most of the time I only have detached skirmishers out there for that. Now Porter is coming in to the same spot. I didn't want Preston to commit that far, but he's still around a 10-to-1 kill ratio. I need to reform the line with the fresh units while Bartow recovers. Historically, Bartow was killed at Bull Run, but right now he appears to be happy to run all the way back to Georgia. It's Howard's turn to charge the fortification. The Union artillery appears to be exposed on the far left side, so as soon as my infantry gets into place, I'll start flanking from the far left and see what I can take. I'll try to do the same thing, charge with one of Hampton's legions, and replace the other in the fortification. However, Keyes is on his way, so my guys will be only partially recovered by the time that he arrives. I'll bring Bartow and my cavalry up to assist. Both Hampton's legions are going to rout, so I need to commit Bartow. McGilvery is getting more action than expected. Since he is already in melee, he might as well briefly countercharge. Let's get moving on the left flank. Virginia is taking artillery fire, so let's back them off a bit until everybody gets into place. I'm so used to the Union coming down to the ford on the left side, I don't normally see this left flank exposed like this. The AI appears to be using the woods at the point for cover. It will give him more cover, but it's going to make it a lot easier to surround him. Porter's coming in for his second charge. I will countercharge and focus fire. My detached skirmishers charged and took an artillery battery. Let's get that right flank set up. Porter appears to have shattered. The center Union force looks to be in pretty rough shape, but Franklin and Wilcox are untouched out there on the right, so I'll have to try to fix that. Since I am mobilizing my core forces, I want to blend in some allied units to help tank shots as I advance. charge with some detached skirmishers again, see if I can get another artillery unit. Union, it's down to just one artillery battery left. Marshall was just wounded. That's one of my Corps Brigade commanders. There's still another phase to go, so I don't need to be overly aggressive. My Corps units just got into the fight, so I want them to harvest experience for the remainder of the battle. Jeb Stewart was just killed, but I bet he comes back from the dead and is hireable with rep points after this battle. I know he has 2 melee cavalry over here somewhere, so I need to be careful with how much I let Stewart's cavalry run around over here. Franklin and the artillery are routing, so now I can work on Wilcox. I need to group up a few of the units on the left side, or his 2 melee cavalry over there will be picking off my skirmishers and cab one at a time. Johnson better hurry up or he's not going to see any action as fast as these guys are collapsing. Union cavalry units have melee weapons, but I don't think they have the melee perk to take advantage of them. Union's pushed out of the cover now and is mostly out in the open. I'll need to deal with Sherman at Matthews Hill later, but hopefully he'll stay put for a while. didn't get any splits on Johnson's boys, but we don't need them. When you have battles like this in Shiloh, where half the force is Allied units, a large portion of your weapons recovery will end up coming from your Allied units. What you get from your allies will be much more than what you get from the enemy, even if you capture a bunch of enemy units. I want Kemper, Siegfried, Cross, and Preston to be close to 1,000 kills here if possible. If the rookies and Archer can get 500 each, that'll be a win. If Cabell had smoothbores, I'd be looking for more like 500 kills, but with having ordnance rifles, he's likely to be around the 350 to 400 range. Sherman is out of the fortification, so let's give him somebody to play with. little worried that at the end of the battle, I'm going to find myself chasing this damn cavalry all over the map, and it'll prevent me from getting the full clear. I'll send Johnston's group to cut them off, so at least I'll know where they're located. With only my core skirmishers on the north end, the AI might try to escape that way, so I may need to end this a little bit sooner to prevent that with some charges. V is in melee, so I'll charge with him. These guys are in a full-out rout, so I'll send the allies after them. Routing units do get an increase in movement speed because the game is designed to give them a chance to get away. I'll march my core units up to take shots on Sherman and see what I can get for kills. Sherman has his hands full, so my cavalry units are relatively safe taking these other infantry brigades. to turn off firing for some of the allies, so only my core units are doing the damage to Sherman. I can also send Stuart down after the Union cavalry now. Oops, Sherman routed a little bit faster than I thought I would for his size. Sherman is down. Now I need to mobilize to track down that last Union cavalry unit. Who knows how long that might take. Maybe I'll get lucky and they'll be close. Johnston found him. I have no idea how much extra time you get once the timer's up here. In the Union campaign, you get about an extra 45 minutes, so I assume the CSA gets some extra time. I'll let Johnson take a few shots so my guys can approach without getting shot. And the chase is on. Fortunately, he's going to have to cross the river to get away. Okay, I had 281 killed, 658 wounded, and 107 missing. The Union had a total of 16,951 casualties and almost 10,000 captured. Total Confederate losses were 6,075. Preston with almost 1,200 kills, and Archer with nearly 700. Cabell was just under 400 kills. Siegfried and Kemper were a little lower than I wanted. On a really good day, they can get up to 12 to 1,500 here. Both division officers made it to colonel. I know Marshall was wounded early on. He might be healed in the barracks since he's not appearing here. We'll see when we get to camp. Enough weapons to help me prepare for Shiloh later. Thank you so much for spending some of your valuable time watching today. I hope you found something useful for your campaigns, and I wish you much success, Generals.